Hello, and welcome to Kid Icarus. Well, sort of. I mean, I will do a full playthrough of this game sometime in the next year or whatever, but right now, no. I mean, I've already done retrospective type videos on my favorite franchises: Zelda, Metroid, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, not necessarily in that order, Castlevania. Now, for one, on my favorite console, the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES for short, launched in North America in mid-October 1985. And for anyone who's done their research on the history of video games, knows that it's the console that helped re-establish video games after the crash of 1983. I don't even want to think of where the video game market would be today if not for that console. So it definitely earned its place in gaming history for legacy. And as far as the amount of good games on it, in my opinion, it's still the best. With the Nintendo Switch rapidly catching up to it. But of course, the Nintendo Switch has the benefit of like Switch on NES and SNES online games that you can play there that necessarily weren't made for it. So, but yeah. Anyways, just a little brief playthrough of some of the games I used to play a ton back in the 80s, early 90s. Some of which, like this one, I will eventually do a full playthrough of. Some of which, maybe not. But yeah, like I said in my, what was it, early video game interest or Zelda retrospective, or both actually, got our first NES in for Christmas of 1987. And from then on, yeah. Back then, you could rent video games from stores. And of course, a lot of the games I played in 88, 89, 90 were from rentals. Very few games actually bought our own copies of. And that was all fine and well until games like Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest, or Dragon Warrior as it was still called then, Dragon Warrior 2 and 3, as games got too long to be completed in a single rental per period. I'm just going to rush to the end of the level, or try to. And you get these axes, they serve a purpose in level 1, 4, 2, 4, 3, 4. Until then, you really don't need those hammers or axes. That's right, I can't do that from here. Alright. Actually, I shouldn't have done that, dang it. Alright, let me reset. Is in this game, you could just rush to the end of the level, and that will work. But the more you do that, the more difficult later parts of the game are going to be. Because if you complete the level, I think it's like 22,000 points by the end of this first level, and you can get enhanced extended endurance life health meter. So, yeah. And later in the game, you're going to want that extra health, or, yeah, you've just made an already potentially difficult game even more so by having less health. I mean, this game can be difficult regardless, don't get me wrong. But that's, I see people talk about how hard the game is, and I see them trying to get through later levels with less health than they should have because they're just rushing through it and not taking time to, And again, you got to remember it was the late 80s. That awkward transition from arcade type games that were about the high score to adventure games like Zelda, where it was about completing the game and fulfilling the story, so to speak. That transition between those two types of games in this game is kind of a little bit of both. Getting the high score isn't necessarily required, but again, it's definitely going to help for how much health you have for later areas. I'm not even worrying about those hearts, which are currency in this game, kind of like Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2. The only other game I could think of where hearts were currency. Of course, this game was kind of successful back in the day. So much so that the Pit character was one of the main characters in the silly, cheesy Captain N the Game Master cartoon series. You know, along with Mega Man, Simon Belmont of Castlevania, Mother Brain, and Dr. Wily from Mega Man as Mother Brain from Metroid and Dr. Wily from Mega Man as villains. Yeah, I do like that show, okay? So it's cheesy by today's standards. What video game related cartoon isn't cheesy? I mean, come on. But back in the 80s, at the time, it was just so cool to see, your favorite video game characters in a cartoon on TV. Even if it may not have been canon as people obsess over these days. The Zelda series wasn't canon. Well, of course it wasn't. Cheesy as all hell, and of course it wasn't canon. I don't think they were trying to be. But anyways, that's a whole nother topic for another time. Point being, this game was quite successful for the day. At least where I lived anyway. I mean, I guess I can't speak for everywhere on Earth, but everybody I knew was playing this game. 87, 88, 89. Well, not so much anymore by 89, but of course, there was a Game Boy sequel, Myths and Monsters, on the original Game Boy. Other than that, as far as I know, there wouldn't be another Kid Icarus game until the 3DS game Uprising, produced by Sakurai, Kirby and Smash Brothers fame. At least I think he worked on that game. Anyways, 15,800. Here you can kill enemies for points, but the amount of damage they can do is sometimes not worth it. Especially on your single bar health meter that you still have. Or you could, try to get hearts for purchases later in the game. Since I'm not even attempting a full playthrough right now, this is all just for fun. I'm not gonna worry about it. I mean, if I was doing a full playthrough, I would have, completed that room back there. But this thing, you gotta kind of be stealthy about it. Be a backstabber. If it sees you, it summons repets or whatever the instruction manual called them. I don't remember. It's been ages since I've actually seen the instruction manual for this game. takes 10 arrows to kill it right now. Later in the game, there's optional places where you can optionally upgrade the strength of the arrows, but for now, oh yeah, I used to memorize where exactly, not, well, I think it was, if I recall correctly, the mechanics of this, it was based on, like, yeah, these bottom four or something like that. I mean, I used to have that memorized. It would be able to get the item here every time and avoid that thing, but granted, I haven't played this game in a long time, so long since forgotten how the mechanics of that work. You can get a large heart, a barrel for potions, or a feather, so that if you, like right now, if I were to fall from here, it'd be game over. But with the feather, you can float back up, avoid death for that one time. Like that, yeah. So yeah, I'm not saying this game is going to be easy. It's going to be a little challenging regardless. It's a platformer of the '80s, But at least for health purposes, again, I think it's like 22,000 points by the end of the first stage there to get. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Again, this isn't a full playthrough of this game. Eventually I will, but for now, no. Okay, let's see here. Another game that I used to play a lot of, well, in this case, starting from the summer of 1989 when it was released in the first place, on for years to come. Yeah. An RPG-esque game, Xanadu. Another game that I will do a full playthrough of sometime. Oh, yeah? They don't look like they're crumbling to me, but okay. Of course, kind of like how the Secret of Mana series, as we know it, was actually called Setsu, the Setsu, however you pronounce that in Japan. And in America it was messed up. The first game in that series was called Final Fantasy Adventure. Second game was Secret of Mana, the one that everybody knows, well, most people know about, whether they played it or not, but yeah. Trials of Mana. This is actually in Japan part of a series called Dragon Slayer, as I understand it. Granted, I had probably have to look into that a little deeper, but as was another NES game that I'll probably be previewing in this video later, so more about that then, but yeah. For now, the king, Elvis? No, not that king. One thing I've noticed about the graphics in this game, why does everybody blink their eyes like that when they talk? I mean, I apologize if there's anybody in real life that actually does that due to some illness or ailment or something like that. I'm not trying to be a jerk to you, but in all my life, I have yet to see anybody in real life that blinks their eyes constantly like that when they talk. But anyways, yeah. Need this, otherwise you can't even get in to see the king. Yeah, this is another one of those games where the story really doesn't make a whole lot of sense and is kind of pointless, you know. Like a lot of late 80s, early 90s video games, the emphasis was more on gameplay than it was about story. You know, you're the hero, go save the world. Again, that transition from arcade to adventure games, story was starting to become more important, more relevant, but still wasn't entirely there yet. Best way of putting that. Don't have any money. Of course I don't have enough. I'm broke. Oh yeah? Yeah. Again, I'm not really going to go into the story or lack thereof right now. When I do a full playthrough of this game, I'll talk more about it then, but yeah. Just for now, suffice to say it's kind of buggy. Like a lot of games I think back then, they just made the game and then threw in the story as an afterthought. At least that's the way I look at it. I could be wrong about that. Obviously, I wasn't there when the game was made, so I can't say from personal knowledge, but yeah. Actually, I shouldn't have got that money yet, now that I think about it. That's why. Don't have negative thoughts, screw you. Remember your mantra, whatever. Yeah, see, I shouldn't have got that money yet. I just lost it anyways. Of course, no, the game doesn't always start you off at 0 gold. As on the screen there. Well, hold on, let me get to a place where enemies won't kill me. My cursor's still showing, yeah. E for experience. Enemies you kill give you certain amounts of experience, like an RPG. And you eventually, once you get enough experience points, like any RPG, you level up. Although, unlike an RPG, where leveling up increases your strength and your defense and your agility, etc., 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 in this game, it does not do that. It just gives you more gold when, like, just now you die and start over. You start over with certain amounts of gold, which is kind of dumb, but yeah. So that's why I say it's minimally an RPG. You do grind for you can grind for experience levels, but the only purpose it serves is so you start off with more money. Doesn't make your character any stronger. And of course you gotta set through this dialogue again. Yeah. Anyways, I do like this game. Sure have played it a lot. You know, throughout the last half of 1989 into the 90s. It's not one of my favorite games entirely, you know. It's not one of my favorite games per se, but it's a game I could go back to and have many a time over the years and decades. But at least for now, until I do a full playthrough of the game, moving on. To this game. And yes, I know I did my Castlevania retrospective series where I dissed this game into the ground, figuratively speaking. And in my Portrait of Ruin playthrough and my Harmony of Dissonance playthroughs, I numerous times blasted this game into oblivion, verbally speaking, but, well, how to put this? Along with T Cobalt 43's Dragon Quest streams, another one of the Twitch streamers I watch quite frequently is one called Agent Frowny, who likes doing whip only challenge playthroughs of this game. In one of his streams, we were talking about, about this game in general. Long story short, made me want to play the game again. So, I mean, this isn't going to be a full playthrough of this game either, but because of his streams and that chat, and realizing that, like I told him that day, we used to rent this game a ton of times since it was one of my younger brother's favorite games. Used to rent this at least once a month. At least. Every month. All 1988, 1989. Until we finally, towards the end of 1989, broke down and bought our own copy of it, which we should have done sooner to save a lot of rental fees. But so yeah, I used to love this game at the time. I guess I just grew into a bitter old man. Well, not really an old man yet, only 50, but yeah. At the sometimes, in my opinion, manufactured difficulty of some of the later games. And this game does have some of that too, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the game is totally excusable for that, but I mean, still, this game is definitely difficult, no doubt about that. Oh, here we go again with the wall meat. The stuff of Castlevania Legends, or video games, 80s video games in general. The pork chop, as the instruction manual called it, although it looks more like a turkey leg drumstick. But always raised the question, you found it in an old castle wall, who would want to eat it? Who knows how long it's been there, how many bugs have crawled and died on it. And now you're going to eat it? Yeah, excuse me while yeah, you get the idea. But then again, whoever said video game logic makes sense. We need some kind of health recovery item that the player can every so often find. What would it be? And where would they find it? Well, we'll find it in the castle walls. Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, again, this isn't going to be a full playthrough. That will happen sometime. I don't know exactly when. First off, for the next Castlevania game, I want to do Dawn of Sorrow. Haven't even uploaded the Aria of Sorrow playthrough I did earlier this year. Upload that and record a playthrough of its sequel, Dawn of Sorrow, on the Nintendo DS. So, yeah. Oh shoot, I didn't get the axe back there. Oh goody. Okay, I'm gonna end up dying here. I don't think I've ever beaten this bat without the axe. In fact, I know I haven't now that I think about it. Every time I've ever played this game, I always get the axe from one of the previous candles a few screens, a little bit further back there. Yeah, Frowny, I don't know how you do it. Whip only. You're obviously better at this game than I'll ever be. You or anybody else, for that matter, that's ever done that. I can't even beat that bat with the whip only. I can't imagine trying that with some of the later bosses like the Grim Reaper. Good God. There's my axe. Yep. Just love the arcing angle of the axe in these games. That should be obvious if you've seen my Portrait of Ruin playthrough. How often I relied on the axe sub-weapon in that game for enemies overhead. Anyways, yeah, by the way, while I admittedly stand corrected on this game, having a lot of nostalgia for this game and having a lot of fun playing it back in the day, I still am not so eager to admit I was wrong about Castlevania 3, Castlevania 4, or Rondo of Blood. Those games, eh. I mean, like in earlier videos when I said Castlevania 4, in my opinion, is one of the most deceptive uses of the word super in gaming history. I'm still not so ready to recant that statement yet. This game, yes, I do like this game, even though it can be extremely annoying, like right here. How many times I die on this screen, like right, yeah. Why even bother having a health bar when one hit sends you falling back and you die anyways, even at full health? I mean, it's stuff like that that made me hate these games for the longest damn time. Like I commented on in many of my videos regarding this series. Anyways, yeah. So many games I want to do little snippet playthroughs of, and yeah. So eventually, I'm not saying exactly when, but sometime I'll do a playthrough of this game, although I ain't saying how it's going to work out since I haven't completed this game in a long time. I imagine the hallway before the Grim Reaper boss battle itself, and then the final boss battle, Dracula, with 2 forms. Ew, it's probably going to take a long time. I mean, I was able to complete the game back in the day, but not having played it in close to like 2.5, 3 decades now, until just the other day. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Anyways, for now, great, I don't see it on this list. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. Okay, it'd be listed under. Oh, it's not there either. Oh, great. Shoot, I probably should have paused the video. I was thinking, yeah, I better find the game I was looking for in a hurry. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm blind. Looked right over it. I already did a full playthrough of the first Metal Gear game. Mentioned how the American NES version is quite different I mean, same game at its core, but so many different changes were applied to the American version of the game that it's hardly, a lot of people would argue it's hardly the same game anymore. Whereas this is totally different from the ground up, so to speak. And as it turns out, this has absolutely no creative involvement from series creator Hideo Kojima, who in Japan made a sequel for the MSX2 computer, Metal Gear Solid Snake, that, and this isn't even canon, so yeah. But again, all of that, it's important, don't get me wrong, but, like I pointed out in my playthrough of the first game in the series, if you were a gamer at the time in 1990 that had no connection to Japanese media, there's no way you would have known about Metal Gear Solid Snake or the MSX computer, or that this game wasn't canon, blah blah blah. Like like the difference between Doki Doki Panic and Super Mario 2. So yeah. And again, especially since I already did a full playthrough of the first game, I will eventually do a playthrough of this game too. But yeah. Released in North America in the spring of 1990, around the time the official canon Metal Gear 2 was released in Japan. And I played a lot of this game. I do like the game. Drastically different, but yeah. Then the Japanese sequel. A heck of a lot harder, by the way. Of course, I'm messing up. Not even really trying, to be honest, since this isn't a full playthrough. Just kind of clowning around with some of these games. I mean, the point here is to highlight my favorite video game console of all time, more so than any individual game for it. A console that has more games I can still enjoy playing to this day than any other console to this day. Nintendo, Super Nintendo, N64, GameCube, Wii U, Switch, PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, throughout all of the video game consoles through the vast near half century of video game history. Yeah. The NES still has more good games, in my opinion, than any other. And that is the point of this video, to show some of those games. Not necessarily to spend too much time on any specific game of them, or however you want to put that. But yeah. And now I'm rambling about that. When I'm actually serious about doing a playthrough of this game, I'll be playing more cautiously, you can bet that. Okay, just like the first game, rations your health in this game. Well, at most Metal Gear games for that matter. Anyways, of course, trying to avoid these spotlights, yeah, like that there, that's kind of trollish. I like this game and all, but I'm not going to excuse the developers for that one. That is kind of trollish. They start you off right there, right in the... Very hard to avoid getting spotted there. I mean, it can be done, but I think that's a bit trollish. Anyways, again, so many games, so little time, so to speak, so I will do a full playthrough of this game, especially since I did one for the first game in the series. Used to rent this game a lot throughout 1988. eventually we did get our own copy of it. The first game is good, but the sequel sucks. Uh-oh, what's with this? Okay, it's not supposed to do that. What? Okay. Uh, NES cartridge glitch. And I'm not even playing the actual cartridge. What the hell? Okay, guess this is going to be even briefer than I thought. I mean, again, this wasn't going to be a full playthrough yet. When I do decide to do a full playthrough of this game, I'm going to have to do something about this. What the hell? I mean, again, if I was playing it on an actual NES cartridge, I'd say it's glitching out on me. This is what it would have looked like back in the day. Or something like this, anyways. Take the cartridge out and breathe on it as if that really worked without, you know. By now, if you've done any research on NES, you know, you've probably seen videos or images of people doing that, blowing into their cartridge as if it really cleared off anything. Alright. Well, I can't even play the game like this. I can't see where I'm going. Alright, well, it's gonna be a very brief play. Oh, sure, now it stops in the... Okay, well, what the heck? Doesn't do that on any of the other NES games. Alright, well, playthrough of that game sometime, whenever I can figure out why it's doing that. You know. Anyways, yeah, by the way, Beg Xanadu, I mentioned how in Japan it was part of a series called Dragon Slayer. Yeah, and as it turns out, although no one in America at the time knew that, not until internet and, you know, the abundance of video game related internet websites and videos, did we realize that so was this game. Part of that same Dragon Slayer series as Xanadu was in Japan. Came out in 1988, 1989 here in America. Pick your party member. I think for the first one. Granted, I haven't played this game in a long time, so I don't remember, but each family member has their own strengths. Jumping higher, or more defense, or distance of their weapon they use. Again, I don't remember who you're supposed to use first. I think it's... No, not her again. Damn, it has been a while since I played this game. I don't even remember the simplest detail. Okay, that's the password person. Was it you? No. You? Well, let's try. Yeah, the high jumper of the family. Okay. Why does the music track here remind me of the silly 1983 pop song by Naked Eyes, Always Something There to Remind Me, which was actually a cover of a much older song, but still. Okay, well, I don't have any money. Well, I do, but... Yeah. Ow! Fall damage. But yeah. Listen to the music track here and then listen to that song. I mean, I'm not saying it's note for note similar, but... And maybe I'm just imagining things, hearing similarities where there are none, but... For some reason, this game, the music here has always reminded me of that song. Always something there to remind me. 1983 Naked Eyes version. That was a top 10 hit for them. Anyways, rock pop music references over. We go underground to the underground mazes, the labyrinth. Different areas where each party member, family member, in their strength, whether it's jumping high or brute strength, or has its benefits. Each party family member has one area that only they can complete because of that. Good game. It's a little unfair at times, like any NES era game, but I like it. Played it a lot. Not only as the 80s ended, but to this day. One of those games like Fazanadu and Goonies 2, which I already did a full playthrough of, by the way, so I won't be showing footage of it again now. But games that I wished would have been on the 3DS Virtual Console and never were, or likewise on the Switch NES Online setup that still, as of yet, hasn't been. Would love to see these games get re-released in some way or another, but so far, I guess I'm the only one, or one of very few, that even knows these games still exist anymore these days, it would seem. I mean, to this day, anytime I mention this game in some Twitch stream chat, and people are like, huh? What's the Legacy of the Wizard? I've never heard of that game, which, I'm not too surprised. It wasn't exactly a major success back then, and now decades later, yeah, I'm not surprised. No, not too many people have heard of the game, much less played it. But anyways, yeah. Okay. Of course, in some gaming circles, the next game started a whole what's phrase in gaming in scenarios where you have to actually talk to every villager or every person on a said screen to continue with the story of the game. Some people have referred to that as Star Tropics Syndrome. The game that started that idea? Yeah, Star Tropics. Okay, well, as soon as the title screen shows up. NES game in 1990 that did eventually get one sequel, Star Tropics 2 Zoda's Revenge, and that's it. To this day, has never had a third game. Of course, unlike the other games I mentioned, this one did actually get ported to the Switch NES Online, which is where I play the game a lot lately when I'm not playing any other game. Yeah, look kind of familiar, doesn't it? Yeah, the file name screen and all that from Zelda, although instead of Link, it's this guy whose name is Mike Jones. Yeah, one of those rare games that was made in Japan by Japanese developers, but made solely with American gamers in mind. Oh, that was okay. Of course, Norman Caruso, aka the gaming historian, did a whole video on the history and backstory of this game. AVGN recently, within the last year, did a video on this game as well. So, yeah. Graphically, it looks like Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior. I mean, the mountains do it. Yeah. Or the caves from Final Fantasy II NES. At least that's what it reminds me of, anyways. Anyways, here we go. Star Tropic Syndrome. Literally, talk to everyone, or you ain't gonna get past this village, so to speak. Yeah. American name, baseball player. Yeah, again, made by Japanese developers expressively for American gamers. Or so I've heard. Again, gaming historian did a video on the game. Dr. Jones. Gee, I wonder who that's a reference to. Harrison Ford? Yeah. Indiana? Ain't that the name of a state? Anyways, yeah, obviously, Indiana Jones reference there. Or Dr. J. Julius Erving, I think his name was. Famous basketball player. Yeah. So, yeah, American culture references galore. Miss Coral. Oh. I don't know. Hard to tell from 8-bit NES pixel sprites, but yeah. Well, good for him. Let him wait. I'm busy talking to everybody else. Again, by the way, like every other game I've done on this video, one that I will eventually do a full playthrough of, but again, so many games, so little time. Then you throw in real life, work, sleeping for work, and other activities, so yeah. It could end up being a full calendar year or more before I actually get to some of these games, but yeah. Americola. Note how a lot of things end in cola. Since Coca-Cola is one of the more popular drinks here. Yeah. Anyways, let's see. Yeah. Well, there's this one, but I already mentioned this game in my Final Fantasy retrospective and in my full playthrough of the Game Boy Advance remake of this game. The first Final Fantasy game. While I ridicule it for being very buggy and very glitchy, I also honestly admit a very strong nostalgia for it, having played it so many times from the summer of 1990 to late 2004, 2005, whenever it was the Game Boy Advance remake came out. So many times during that 15 years replaying this. So. Again, I'm not even going to bother giving these people names since I'm not doing a full playthrough of this game. At least not yet. I haven't, contrary to my remarks made while playing the Game Boy Advance remake, I haven't totally written off the possibility of, for nostalgia only purposes, going back and replaying this original version of the game. It's not likely, but again, I'm not going to say it's impossible either. And again, I do have a lot of nostalgia for this. But I can guarantee you one thing. If and when I do, I'm not using a black mage. Not in this version of the game. No, not with that ridiculous spell charge bullshit. Screw that. I'll use either a second fighter or a second red mage. If I want a second fighter if I want to brute force my way through, or a second red mage if I want a more magic-based party. One way or the other, screw black mage in this version of the game. Not very good names, but again, this isn't even a full playthrough, so but yeah. A lot of nostalgia for the music here, I can still admit that. Or this music. You ain't kidding, God, just listening to it now brings back so many memories. Or this music. Yeah. Good game, even though it is quite glitchy and buggy. Most of which was ironed out in the remake. So yeah, while I still kind of stand by what I said back then, good game, but if you're not as nostalgic for it as I am, I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend one of the more modern remakes, like any old RPG game for that matter, but yeah, especially with this one. Of course, this would, you know, Final Fantasy 2 and 3 were also on the NES in Japan, just not in America. The next Final Fantasy game we got was Part 4, mislabeled as Part 2. But then again, most longtime Final Fantasy fans know about that whole story already. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, excuse me. I already did a full playthrough of that game. All right, hold on. Let me. All right, another game that has been ported to the Switch NES Online library, or however you want to put that, that I used to play a lot of back in the day. And again, one that someday, sometime, when time permits, and I've done all of the other games I want to do, I will do a full playthrough of this game. Probably be one of those one video only extended 2-3 hour long videos. Kind of like the second quest of the first Zelda game, or Castlevania 2, or NES Metroid. Games I completed all of in one setting, or one video. Of course, didn't know it at the time, but apparently this was, or no, apparently about it, as I've actually seen the art, well, not seen the arcade cabinet, but seen the seen versions of the arcade original version. This was originally an arcade game ported to the NES. I didn't know that until just recent years looking it up online. I don't remember ever seeing this in any arcade I'd ever been to. Granted, like I said in my retrospective of gaming, about back then, the only arcade game I was remotely interested in was Pac-Man. But even then, that interest kind of slowly waned since you had to actually go to the arcade, and where we lived, there wasn't any nearby that didn't require driving, and since obviously I didn't have a car yet, so yeah. My interest in video games came and went very fast until the NES and Zelda and Mario. So yeah, I'm not surprised that I didn't even know this was an arcade game at the time. Surprised when I found that out just in the last few months. Like, what? Okay. Anyways, Okay, how come I'm not dead? I mean, look at my health meter up there in the upper right corner of the screen. I should be dead. I should be seeing the game over or whatever. Okay, now. Okay, that was weird. Is that one of those graphic glitches like back in when I tried to play Wizards and Warriors earlier? Hey, spawning from nowhere. Screw you, game. Anyways, of course, there were also puzzle games like Tetris, first released in America on the Game Boy, but also had its own NES version as well. Of course, by now everybody's played Tetris, I'm sure, so you're familiar with the concept of the puzzle game. Like most 80s gamers, or frick gamers today still, I spent a lot of time playing this game. Frick, I even have Tetris Ultimate on my 3DS, so yeah. But anyways, of course, for this video, I'm leaving out the obvious, like Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3, Zelda 1 and 2, well, I mentioned Castlevania, just to clarify my early, to correct my early opinions on the game and point out that, anyways, that I was wrong, that I do like the first game. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not mentioning those games because I already did special videos on them. And frick, Zelda and Zelda 2, I already did full playthroughs of. So Metroid as well. So yeah, I'm not mentioning those games on this video, but other than right now. But I mean, I'm not showing them on this video because I've already covered them. But yeah. I could go on with other games, but I think you get the idea by now. The NES. Primitive by today's standards, technologically, I would hope so, 35 years later. But damn if it didn't have one hell of a library of games that, in my opinion, is still unmatched to this day. Switch is coming close, but not quite. And then you add the historic significance that so many Zelda, Mario, Metroid, Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Mega Man, Castlevania, Metal Gear, so many of today's popular video game franchises started out on the NES. So yeah, screw up. Mess up. Hey, look at me, I'm messing up. How's that thing not falling over from the weight? Anyways, that'll do it for this video. My salute of sorts to the NES. In my opinion, still the greatest video game console of all time. Definitely not technologically, but yeah, you get the idea. Point made already. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.